finish it.
Indeed.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. I'm gonna go with Belvini 14.
Really?
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. So I have Cam, my resident Scotch, as we say in America, or just whiskey expert. Since I offered him a bunch to try and hey, come hang out with me, try all those out, he's like, I've got a few for you to try as well. So here we are, and he's brought a few of his own, and I'm gonna let him introduce those whiskeys, and then we'll get into it.
Absolutely, thank you very much. To clarify, I've not spent $300 on a single bottle of these, but nevertheless...
Or have a nice friend that gifts you.
Of course, but nevertheless, there's just a selection here, and we'll go through them, but last time we did this, we had a Highland Park 21 year, that was a $300 bottle.
Yes.
Very smooth, very nice. This is more of a standard Highland Park of 12 years, so we'll be starting with that one and be able to compare the differences between the $300 21 year bottle versus this is about a sixth of the price, to give you an idea. Well, then we want the Glenmorangie. Glenmorangie is a really good market staple of what a single malt should be. Before we move on to, I'm going to be really honest, viewer, I'm very concerned about this Speyburn. Not because Speyburn itself is an issue, but this particular bottle refers to notes of fresh fruit, creamy toffee and citrus, and it has been hand-selected American oak casks. So it will be interesting to see how the Speyburn in this bottle compares to what we would call more traditional single malts in these ones. But yes, very excited to get into it.
Definitely. So with that, which one do you want to start with?
Well, we'll start left to right. We'll start with the Highland Park. I'll put these two down here just so there's no ambiguity as to what we're referring to.
Fair enough.
You will discover, viewer, that I have already drank most of this bottle. Why have I drank most of this bottle? I promise you I can stop whenever I want. And so...
Well, hold on, here's a question.
Yes.
Do you go to meetings about
ever?
your drinking?
Oh, I know, I thought you said ever. No,
No.
I do not go to meetings
Then
about
you're
my
fine.
drinking. Exactly. But we will probably finish the bottle here. Now, Highland Park, as I mentioned in the last episode, is very much we're going to finish this, aren't we?
Yes,
very
we
much
are.
a staple sort of drink. I'm not going to suggest that it is by any means top of the list. It's by no means highbrow, but it is a slightly more commercial drink in the sense that Highland Park is relatively well known. So, the 12-year bottle, I give you Slangevar.
Very
Sorry. We're not getting there. We'll try and get to you.
Slangevar.
Excellent. There we are. Thank you.
Ooh.
It does have a different smell to the 21 year, but I also think it's probably going to be less smooth due to the fact that it's aged, well, only just over half the time.
9 years less?
Indeed. Your thoughts?
As you said, very commercial, very easy sipper, very easy drinker. You know, kind of like the Belvini 12 that we had the last time, right? It's something that you could sip.
Yeah. Good
notes to it. There's not a whole lot of like that smoothness. Like I will tell you, the Highland 21 versus the Highland 12. Like when you took the first note in your nose of the 21, it just like it hits you right in the back. And then when you swallow and everything else, it's just like, hey, wow, that is right there. This one is just like, yeah, it's good.
But as you identify, we're almost discussing a different ball game here.
Yes,
because
100%.
Because we are talking, you could get 6 of these, and I'm not exaggerating, 6 of these for the price of 1 of the 21-year bottle.
Yeah.
And if you are not a whiskey connoisseur or indeed a big single malt drinker, this certainly fits the bill, I think.
Yeah, like anybody who's any sort of like looking for a nice intro whiskey.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that would be a fantastic option.
Absolutely.
For an intro whiskey of saying like, hey, I don't know if I like Scotch or I don't like Scotch. Because again, here in America, everybody's like, yeah, we got a little bit of everything, right? I think you started drinking probably at 3?
Possibly in the womb. Actually.
In the womb?
Yeah,
okay, fair enough, fair. But we wait a little bit longer here. We're a little bit more prudish here in America. At least you didn't take Tylenol.
Well, indeed.
Utero.
And actually, worth pointing out though that it advertises itself as spicy and well-rounded. Not necessarily going to focus on the spice element, but in terms of well-rounded, I think that's a fair assessment.
A very fair assessment.
Yeah.
Definitely not ChatGPT used on that.
No, indeed, and you know, it comes from Orkney, and now, for those who don't know the geography of Scotland, there's a lot of islands up to the north, and it generally affects the quality or peatiness of the water. This is one of the biggest difference between actually American bourbon and single malt Scottish whiskey. The peatiness of the water, that is the main constituent part of something like Highland Park, something like something like a Glenmorangie that will come through, or Glenfiddich, or other options. The peatiness of the water is the base ingredient that gives it such a distinctive taste. And the fact of the matter is, you can't import that because it's literally running through the water on the land in question. And so this is, as a $50, $60 bottle of single malt, yes, I'm very much a fan.
Same. I like it. Thank you. You've opened.
The fact of the matter is, we were going to finish the bottle anyway, but it doesn't. No, but honestly, like $50, $60 off, I'll take that every day of the week.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to spend $56 a week, but you know.
Well, yeah, you say that.
But you know.
So actually,
when in Rome.
It's funny though. So my my mum said, please stop buying Dad whiskey. And I was like, well, why? And she was like, well, he only really drinks it when you're here. So they've got a cupboard. It's the old TV cupboard. And so basically, you remember when CRT live TVs? So we
5 feet deep.
Yeah, we had a TV cupboard. That's now in sort of like a transition room between the living room and the dining room. Yeah. And that's just, it's not quite full of whiskey, but there's a lot of whiskey in there. And she's like, please stop buying.
Because it's just like, whenever you're home, you have a couple bottles,
exactly.
a couple glasses or whatever, and then the rest sits in there
yeah,
until the next time you
because basically, and I understand why, but like Dad's like, I won't drink by myself. I'm like, fair enough, that's your choice, whatever. No. I do, but I was like, fair enough. And so he's like, well, I
don't need help.
Well, exactly. It's like he's like, I only drink it when you're here, and of course I've been in the US like for the last nearly 2 years. Like basically none of it's been drank, and I've just like every birthday or Christmas I've just bought him another bottle of whiskey.
That's awesome. Well, see, really what you're planning for is that when you go home for a really long holiday and you hang out at home, you've got a nice selection to choose from. Basically, yeah. It's strategy. As a
It's pure strategy. I'm back in the UK in May. I'm probably back again in July. Like Anywho, right. Are you ready for round two?
So, first one, Highland Park 12-year. If anybody's looking for a whiskey that you are intro whiskey, definitely highly recommend Easy Sipper. I would say, yes, $50 to $60 a bottle, right? Give or take. Something that anybody can get into. So if you're looking for a bottle and say, hey, I want to try, give the Highland Park a try. 12-year. 21-year, definitely go for it. But if you're ready to burn money, by all means, send it to me. I will totally buy that for you. I'm just saying. I might drink half of it, but anyways. We're going to go into our second single malt that you have in the Glenmorangie. It's your whiskey. I want to let you.
No, honestly, the pronunciation was pretty good. Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie.
Yeah, indeed, we roll the R's.
So I took Spanish in high school.
Oh,
and you
honestly,
take 2 R's, you roll the R's.
It's not that far from Spanish. And as somebody who is currently in the very early stages of learning Spanish, actually, it's very easy to roll your R's when you know Scots. But basically, Glenmorangie. So Glenmorangie is slightly less commercialised than Highland Park, but also, build an illusion. I bought this in a Virginia ABC, so this is very much from here. This particular is a 12-year, but the thing I wish to note here is this has been aged in bourbon casks. Now, of course, bourbon casks, unlike single malt casks, bourbon casks, actually by Virginia state law, I don't know if you know this, by Virginia state law, have to be brand new.
Yeah, virgin oak.
Brand spankers new, whereas The single malt method, especially in Scotland, is the flavours that are added by the previous blends that were in there give it a certain element of kick, a certain element of, I don't know how you would say it, je ne sais pas. But the Glenmorangie, and you'll notice I've finished most of this bottle already, but this is the 12-year bourbon casks. Now, I'm quite a fan. This is slightly more expensive than your Highland Park. This is more of a $60 to $80 bottle, unless you can find it on offer in other places.
Yeah.
Living in Virginia, the ABC dictates the value, which is a concept I can't get on board with, by the way. But
and it's not in every state either.
No, indeed.
And
You'll
it's
notice.
kind of annoying.
You'll notice I've poured slightly larger than normal portions, solely because we've now finished the bottle and I don't have to take it home. But
that works.
The bourbon casks, I find, is a very interesting touch because it was still distilled in Scotland, meaning the casks were shipped from the US to Scotland in order to put this in. How interesting.
Very interesting. So I guess, so what you're saying though, like on a straight single malt of whiskey in Scotland.
Yes.
I think I remember you telling me last time that it was like, the weather is a lot more easy temperament, and so you're not going to have that expansion and contraction of the wood that I think there's I think it's like Jim Beam Devil's Cut or something like that. They squeeze the wood out of it, or squeeze the wood to get and it's super harsh. I don't know if you've ever tried it before. It's good-ish. If you're trying to get drunk, fantastic option. But so from a bourbon whiskey, which here in Kentucky or Tennessee or something along those lines, where you were saying there's a lot more contraction and expansion. And then you go to Scotland to have it aged in those.
Indeed, because what happens is if you take a barrel that has already been utilised, whether it be bourbon, whether it be sherry, whatever, there is already natural flavourings on the inside of the cask, and that's really important because this particular drink has been sitting for 12 years. Just the natural residue from, in this case, the bourbon casks, in this case sherry, in others and various other varieties, the natural flavour from the oak that has been soaked in over time releases back into the flavouring. And that's why this is a bourbon cask. So again, slightly different compared to most single malt whiskies, but again, this was purchased in a Virginia ABC. Are we appealing directly to the US market? Of course we are appealing directly to the US market. Let's not pretend otherwise. But nevertheless, as always, Slangevar.
Slangevar.
Smashing, yes.
I'll learn. Teach an old dog new tricks. Ooh.
And on the initial, the smell test, one does certainly get those whiskey notes. Obviously, the smell doesn't linger for too long. I feel
it doesn't.
It dissipates quite quickly. But here we are. Oh, it's so smooth though. Ooh. That may be the smoothest we've had between last time and this time.
I think so too. I honestly, I would concur with it. Wow, there's zero bite on the back end.
There's no kick. There's no effect to the back of the throat. There's no effect to the swallowing mechanism. It's not quite. You can't drink it like it's a diet soda, but it is very easily drinkable. And I don't know if that's necessarily the bourbon cask aspect. I'm not sure, because I wouldn't sit here and drink. I won't sit here and drink Gentleman Jack in the same way. That might just be me, but
yeah. Well, you're not wrong on that one.
Viewer, I would say, if you are an American getting into your first single malt whiskey, if you have a bourbon background, this very much.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great way to describe it, because it does have that bourbon flavor to it. When you, a little bit on the nose, right? And a little bit at the initial drink, right? So the initial taste, you have a little bit of that bourbon.
Yeah.
but like afterwards though, it's so smooth and so like it goes down so easy that it's one of those things where you're like, oh my god, I need another one right away.
I would say the best way to describe it, if I was to try and summarize this, it is not overpowering in any aspect.
Not at all. I would concur with that assessment.
Indeed. And so, I mean, Glenmorangie, well-known, well-established brand. Clearly, this is the US market. My accent gives it away, but a US market bourbon cask distilled in Scotland. The actual notes here are smooth, creamy, luscious, with notes of orange, honey, vanilla, and peach. I think that might be an exaggeration.
I don't taste the peach, but the orange and the vanilla, I can definitely get those right at the front end.
I can stretch to honey, but fine, but smooth and creamy. I'm completely on board with.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for an entry single malt Glenmorangie 12-year, available in whether you're in an ABC state or whether you're anywhere else, this is readily available. Not quite the same commercialised view as Highland Park, but this certainly fits the bill.
Nice. Well, give it a try, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.
When you finish it.
Indeed.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
I didn't get those ratios right. It takes every minute to finish that. Woo!
All right, and welcome back for our third and final bottle that we have with us today, the Speyburn. And again, he has never tried it. I've never tried it. This is like a no kidding, hey, we're going to try this together and let you know whether it's worth it or not.
Indeed, and so Speyburn itself, not necessarily the most well-known brand, but Speyside, where it is from, very well-known area of Scotland, very well-known in terms of its whiskey production, whiskey without an E. So single malt-wise, we're there. I note several things. Firstly, it's talking of notes of fresh fruit, citrus, and creamy toffee. Viewer, that concerns me greatly, I'll be honest.
I don't know if I would ever say like those three in sort of an alcoholic drink, other than actually none of them.
No, none of them at all. It's aged 10 years, but I think the reason why it is being sold within the US market is this is matured in hand-selected American oak casks. Let's see how that goes. But nevertheless,
I will say though, we
unopened.
had the Belvini last time, 12-year in the American oak. That was pretty good. And so I will tell you this: one of my favorite movies, and kind of what got me into whiskey without an E.
Thank you.
Was the movie Spy Game, right? With the late Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. And so in one of the scenes, they're in Germany, right? And Brad Pitt's the young spy. Robert Redford has recruited him. And they're in a bar, and Robert Redford's like, give me a scotch, right? And he's like, 999, like, go from there. And he's like, and Brad Pitt's like, I thought spies drank martinis. And Robert Redford's character, Bishop, I think not Bishop, Tom Muir. It's a great movie. You need to go check it out. Tom Muir's character goes, you know what? He's like, spies drink single malt, never less than 12 years. So this being a 10-year-old single malt, we're halfway there. But I don't know how this is going
I mean, I don't know how the US education system works, but 10 is more than halfway to 12, but yes.
No. Well, I mean, I was saying by halfway there, it's a single malt.
Ah, right, yes.
It's only 10 malts. It's only 10 malts, right? So, yes, definitely more than halfway to 12.
Slangervore. Yes, smashing.
Hey, let's see.
I'll be honest, viewer, I'm very concerned about this, not least because this was on offer at the ABC for about $40. Now, I'm a huge fan of single malts, if this or the previous episode was by no means enough to give it away. However, the idea of fresh fruit, citrus, and creamy toffee sets me on a slight... It's the same as saying to an American, we're going to do NASCAR, but we're going to do it on sustainable fuels. There's just something that doesn't feel quite right. And I can't put my finger on it, but that's the mode we're in. So I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see how it goes.
So that's all.
The smell is fine, I confess.
I'm not feeling the nose, I'm not going to lie.
Underwhelmed would be the initial phrase. Slightly disappointed would be the second phrase. The third phrase is it was $40.
Right.
So you get what you pay for. There's a reason why the Virginia ABC had this on sale, and there's plenty of them. I'm disappointed is a strong term.
I feel like I'm being blueballed here.
Well, maybe, but if you're in Vermont, you can recycle the bottle for 15 cents, and that's a win. So it's actually $39.85 pre-tax.
So what about California and the CRV?
That's a long way away.
It's on the other side.
We're on the East Coast. I mean, if I'm being honest though, there's no legs to it. I mean, partly because it's 10 years. The smell, honestly, generic, nothing impressive. And what do you think of the taste?
Leaves a lot to be desired. That's sum it up in one way. I don't. Fresh fruit and citrus, I can see a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Creamy toffee, I can taste a little bit of the creaminess.
Creaminess.
But toffee, not so much.
I think the summation I'd like to make with this drink is there's a reason why most single malts in the UK aren't sold until it's 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
15 is a very good drink. 21 is exceptional.
How about Talisker 10 though?
So Talisker, yes, but I would say Talisker isn't trying to incorporate American oak, nor fresh fruit, citrus, and creamy toffee.
Touche.
And so, Speyburn, a brand I'm not necessarily overly familiar with, but Speyside, an area of the country that is very well known for its whiskey. To summarise, I'm not disappointed because for $40, what do you expect?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I know for a fact you have other whiskies that I brought these ones, so it's my fault, viewer. But I would suggest others are far more to the liking of whether you want the Highland Park 12, the classic, traditional, early entry single malt, or indeed, Glenmorangie with possible American tones, or if we go back to the previous video, the American oak or even Caribbean oak flavoured influences into the single malt style. This is not the answer.
Concur. Yes. So I would say this. Actually, here's a good question. Do you think if they maybe aged it for just a little bit longer, maybe 12 to 15 years, do you think that would improve the taste? Or are they kind of at 10 years are like, this ain't getting any better, let's just bottle it and call it a day?
There's a reason it was on offer. And the reason it was on offer is there was no point in making it last any longer. Distilleries need to take a chance now and again. And it's understandable because as any business practice will do, they have to try risks, they have to push the envelope, and I completely agree. This pushes the envelope. The fact the envelope is going to the wrong address is unfortunate, but I don't...
Without a stamp.
I don't blame Speyburn for trying. It doesn't hit the mark.
Fair. I like it. I concur. Sorry. I concur with you. Definitely. Out of the whiskeys we tried last time, the whiskeys that we tried today, least favorite.
Bottom of the pile. We'll remove it out of screenshot. and the 21-year Highland Park was certainly the favourite. And I turn it over to you, the viewer, to say, let us know what your favourite single malts are. We're not interested in bourbon. This is by no means an American-only show. I have an accent, obviously.
Right.
But I will turn it over to the host of this. What is your favourite one that we've tried between last episode and this one?
Ooh. Now, when you say favorite, are you saying like this one, like I would buy it every day, or like an everyday sipper? Because I will tell you this much. There's certain things where you're like, this tastes amazing and fantastic, but would I want to drink it every day?
There has been no such thing as an everyday, well-aged single malt whiskey since the 1980s. So with that in mind, I'm asking if money no option, which of the 7 specific kinds of whiskey, single malts sometimes, which of the 7 specific drinks we've had between last episode and this, would you pick as your favourite?
I'm going to go with Balvenie 14.
Really?
Yeah. Again, even here's the thing. The Highland Park 21, even though you say like money, no option on that one.
Even money, an option.
Like no options, right? Like for money, right? Like in the sense like it doesn't matter. I would say this, right? And here's why. So the Highland 21, obviously the best that we've had out of all of those 7. Hands down, 100%. Like if you want to argue with me, you've seen me, I know jiu-jitsu, I'll fight you, right? And then we'll kind of go from there. It's the 21. Hands down, the best whiskey that we've had. But if you were to say, hey, you got one whiskey for the rest of your life, which one would you pick? I would probably pick the Balvenie 14. Just for whatever reason, when I drink it, it tickles the nose, if you will, in such a way that I would go with that. I apologize, but
no,
I'm an odd duck.
There is no need for apologies. You went for the American oak cask.
No, that was an American.
Oh, no, Caribbean rum.
Yes, that's the Caribbean rum.
Honestly, there's something to be said for the Caribbean. For those who haven't been to the Caribbean, I highly recommend it. But I understand your opinion. There is a reason why the 21-year-old Highland Park is $300.
Agreed.
It is because it is by far the best. But, as I said last episode, and I remind you again, the best whiskey is the company that you keep whilst you drink it. So whilst it is by no means my show, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a genuine pleasure. I thank you very much for your time and a link to my show. As always, please stand clear of the doors.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
And so with that, I say, Slán Java.
Slán Java. Pleasure.
Have a great day.